Hi guys, this is Miss D. We're going to start by doing number 3 on our Unit 6, Day 4 worksheet. So number 3's directions say to solve each system of equations by substitution. So we can look at the two equations that it gives us, and we see that we have y equals 3x and 2x plus y equals 15. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to substitute y equals 3x into our second equation, because it already has y by itself on one side of the first equation, so it'll be a lot easier to just plug that first equation into that second equation. So we're going to substitute 3x for y into our second equation. So we can rewrite 2x plus 3x equals 15. Then we're going to want to add 2x plus 3x, and we get 5x equals 15. And then to get x by itself, we could just divide both sides by 5, and we get x equals 3. Now that we found x, we also need to find y. So what we can do is we could just plug that 3 for x into our first equation, because that is the easier one to work with. But we could plug x equals 3 into our second. But since the first one's easier to work with, let's just work with that. So we have y equals 3x, so we could just plug in x, our x, which is 3. And then we can just solve y equals 3 times 3, which is 9. So now we have x equals 3, and we have y equals 9. So on the line, we can write our solution as 3, 9. Alright, so now we could flip over to the back page and do number 6. So these directions tell us to solve each system of equations by substitution. If the system does not have exactly one solution, state whether it has no solution or infinitely many solutions. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to look at our two equations it gives us. So it gives us y equals negative 3x plus 6, and it gives us 3x minus 4y equals 6. So what we can see in the first equation is that we already have it solved for y. So this shows us that it'll be really easy for us to just plug in the first equation into the second equation, so we don't have to solve for y anywhere. So we're going to want to plug that first equation into our second. So we have 3x minus our y, which our y in our first equation is negative 3x plus 6, and then equals 6. So as you can see, what I did is I put my first equation in parentheses when I plugged it into my second equation. That's because it's going to make your life a lot easier when you distribute out that negative into the negative 3x plus 6. So without those parentheses, you may forget that you have to distribute the negative sign. So we're going to rewrite this next step. So we have 3x plus 3x minus 6 equals 6 when we distribute out that negative. So negative times a negative 3x gives us a positive 3x, and negative times a positive 6 gives us a negative 6. So now we can combine our like terms. We get 3x plus 3x equals 6x. Bring down the minus 6 equals 6. So now we want to solve for x. So we can add 6 to both sides, and we get 6x equals 12. And then we want to solve for x, so we can divide both sides by 6, and we get x equals 2. So now we found x equals 2. So we also need to find what our y is. So we could plug x equals 2 into either of the two equations it gives us, but we can easier work with the first one because y is already solved for us. So we could just plug our x of 2 in where x is into the first equation. So our first equation again was y equals negative 3x plus 6. And then we can plug in 2 for x, so negative 3 times 2 plus 6. And then we can do y equals negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then plus 6. And we get y equals 0. because negative 6 plus 6 is 0. So we found that x equals 2 and y equals 0. So our solution we're going to write on the line is 2, 0.